What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another update, and James Maddison has taken to social media laying in to VAR and the VAR decision not to award James Maddison a penalty in stoppage time in the Leeds game, deadlocked at 1-1. He really has laid into him, and I'm kind of worried he's going to face like kind of retrospective action on this. But he has said, for clarity, the small, tiny touch on the ball to change direction came from the outside of my right foot, not Nemecha. And I told the ref, but the check was over in about 20 seconds. Officials are petrified to make decisions on the pitch now because of VAR. We keep fighting. Come on, you Spurs. So look, first and foremost, it was unbelievable to see James Maddison back on the pitch. But what do you make out of this? The new angle has come out, which does look very much supporting in what James Maddison's saying right now.
Yeah, I think he's spot on. It was a penalty. I thought even if there was a slight touch, it was a penalty anyway, in my opinion. But the fact that Nemecha didn't even touch the ball, that means it's a Stonewall penalty. And the fact as well, when you look at what happened during the game, they spent about 5 minutes checking the tail one. Obviously, that was a Stonewall penalty. That should have been given straight away, don't get me wrong. But
didn't need 5 minutes to check that.
Exactly, yeah. They watched it for about, the guy was watching it for ages. It was a long check. Yeah, for Maddison, that check was over for after about 10 to 15 seconds. It was a really quick one. They kind of glossed over it and then went immediately to give a corner kick and didn't even scrutinise it. Now, this new angle, I don't know obviously if the VAR had that angle that we've now seen. I don't know where that angle's come from, whether it's the Tottenham social media team or whatever, because obviously they've got a bit of different ability to have different angles. But either way, it's a bit ridiculous that there is an angle out there that shows that there should have been a penalty and a Stonewall penalty at that, and yet the VAR doesn't have access to it with the billions and billions of pounds put into the Premier League and the new virtual system referee system. The fact that they don't have that angle that would categorically show it's a penalty is a bit ridiculous. We obviously haven't had a penalty all season, so the frustration is massive. It was a massive moment in the game. That was Maddison's moment as well to make that little impact in the game, which could have won us what would have been an absolutely massive 3 points. And it makes me feel absolutely robbed even more. I mean, I was already angry, and it already, for me, looked like a penalty, but now it's pretty conclusive evidence, I would say.
And that could be the big difference in staying up and relegation. Like, literally that moment alone, which is crazy to think about. Look, don't get me wrong, Spurs could have performed better on the day, and maybe we shouldn't be relying on these kind of decisions, but looking at it, it does look like it should have been a penalty. But it is a strange one, isn't it? Because you look at two different angles, one from behind and one from in front. They look like, one looks like Nemecha gets the ball, one looks like, Maddison, he doesn't get a touch on it. So look, maybe
it was worth more than a 10-second check.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
It should have been. But like, now it's brought into question this VAR. Well, I say now it's brought into question for a long time, but the decisions this weekend, where you got that decision and the Arsenal decision, two like real kind of change, could be season-defining decisions, where they award West Ham's goal ruled out, they don't award the penalty to Spurs. The West Ham Arsenal one, I thought they just glossed over every other foul that was going in the box so brazenly and just so quickly. And in this one, they've just brushed off the foul so quickly, where, in other decisions, they're like scrutinising every single little thing. I just think it's nuts.
I think he's spot on what Maddison, what he's saying. A lot of the referees on the pitch now are not making the big decisions and leaving it up to VAR because they're scared of making the wrong one, and they know they've got the fallback option of VAR coming into it. And obviously, if he gives that, look, I think when we were watching it, we thought it was a penalty in real time. I think most people did. Obviously, he didn't point to the spot, but you've got to remember, he didn't even give a penalty for the tail one initially. That is more damning evidence for me that they're not making the big decisions right now, and they're leaving it up to VAR. That was a Stonewall penalty. Everyone could see that Tell fouled Ampadu at that moment. The only reason why it was maybe we thought we'd get away with it because the referee didn't give it. So he thought maybe he knows something we don't. But it was clearly a penalty. It looked like for the world to see. And for some reason, he didn't make that decision. And then he doesn't make the decision for the Maddison one. And because the footage that they have was a tiny bit inconclusive, they're not sure it was Nemecha's touch or it was Maddison's touch, then the VAR can then say, well, it's not clear and obvious, and we move on from it. But the referee should be making the decision on the pitch, and they're scared of it. And the one against Arsenal, the VAR, that you can hear we've now heard the audio of what they were saying. So yes, he's absolutely spot on. The VAR points out that Raya was fouled, and that's correct. But the assistant VAR is then saying to the main VAR guy, well, we've got all these other fouls. What do you do with them? Like, we've got Trossard fouling this one, we've got Rice fouling Mavropanos. Like, what are we going to do with them? So, interestingly, what the VAR did is like he kind of showed the referee the foul from Onraya, say, look, this isn't a goal. But he then said, but take a look at these fouls. But he didn't show them. He only shows what was going on at the point of the foul on Raya when everything had already happened. He didn't show from the beginning of the sequence. So the referee's looking at it, thinking, like, what am I looking at? He's like, what are you showing me? He's like, yeah, look, there's a foul on Trossard because of the VAR. I've seen the whole sequence. Yeah. And the referee's looking at the screen like, well, I don't see anything, so I'm not giving a foul. So it all comes down to who's implementing it. I think the technology is there. We just have bozos running it. It seems like we just don't know what they're doing. And we saw that obviously evidently when Spurs got a goal. Liverpool got that goal ruled out when it was onside because of bad processing, bad communication. I think that was more evidence of it in the Arsenal one. Bad communication.
I think it's something that we've been saying for so long. It's not the technology that's the problem. It's the people running it. It's time and time again. It's proven to be shown. And with this one, with like kind of James Maddison, was this always going to happen with like kind of VAR and these kind of referees just leaning too much when you've got the technology? Were the referees always going to go in that direction and just lean way too much on the technology?
Yeah, I think it's natural especially when nowadays so much riding on football, money-wise and livelihoods and whatnot. It's just there's so much money in the game. There's so much pressure on referees now, so they don't want to leave anything to chance. They don't want to get a decision wrong, so they pass the buck, give it to VAR, and they can make the decision, and then the pressure's on them instead of the referee on the pitch. And I guess that's the feeling at the moment.
What do we do to get past this and change this? Do other leagues, are they having the same similar issues? I remember in the World Cup 4 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, we didn't have these issues. It seemed like VAR was being run so well in that World Cup out in Qatar. So how can we get back to that? Like, what lessons are there to be learned from that World Cup in Qatar?
Yeah, it definitely seems, and I think it's borne out from the evidence. They're saying there has been more mistakes being made as well from VAR in the last in this season compared to other seasons. I think there's more things being missed. And what is the reason for that? In terms of VAR, you can't scrap it, can you? You can't put the genie back in the bowl like that. It's out now.
Well, we said VAR is not the issue. It's the people implementing it. That's the issue here.
You need better people. You maybe need to pay them more to get more training or whatever. Maybe you need an ex-player in the VAR room who understands the game and understands what it's like being on the pitch, rather than these guys at Stockley Park who are referees who are like sticking to the to the minutiae of the rules and not implementing everything. Like, I understand rules are the rules, but there are so many things that are rules that aren't implemented that should be implemented, and that we understand the flow of the game. For example, in theory, when a ball gets played out of play and there's a player obstructing it and seeing the ball out, right? In theory, that's obstruction. In theory, defender shouldn't be allowed to do that. That should be an indirect free kick. Yeah. But when have you ever seen an indirect free kick seen out for a player seeing the ball out? Never. Because that would be ridiculous. You'd get loads of free kicks. Same with these corners. Every single time there's any sort of grabbing in the box, it should be either a free kick one way or a penalty. It only seems to be given most of the time a free kick to the defensive team. It's never given a penalty. Why is that? There's so many fouls that are fouls outside the box that are not fouls inside the box, even though technically they should be every time. But why isn't that? Because we understand, there's an unwritten rule like a foul inside the box should have a bit of a higher standard than one outside the box. There's just these unwritten rules. We understand that a defender should be able to shield, get the ball out of play, shield the ball out of play. It's good defending. Like, we understand these things, but it's like the referees, when they're in the VAR room, they don't seem to have that understanding a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think they've got to look at the processes and the people that were involved in that World Cup 4 years ago, and maybe take some training. Get these guys, whoever took those trainings, and bring that into the Premier League. The Premier League is the most money-making league in the world, and we should have the best people governing VAR and refereeing in week in, week out in each and every game. I think it's ridiculous to have so many mistakes, which seems like week in, week out in multiple games. So I think there are big lessons that they can take from the international stage and the World Cup 4 years ago.
But they're talking about giving this World Cup, giving VAR more powers for corners and stuff, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think
we'll have to wait and see how it kind of works out. But you don't want VAR to govern every single corner in a game. It's just like, what, we're going to have 2-minute checks for every corner? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with VAR, I'm very conflicted whether I still want it around or not. Like the fact
you want it around, it doesn't really matter.
I know, but whether I know, but I'm just conflicted whether I do, because I do obviously remember the times where we had ridiculous decisions, go against us, which were very clear and obvious back in the day. And if VAR was implemented, a lot of things could have been different. But now we have 2 to 3 minute checks on every single goal and incident, and they're still getting it wrong, and we're losing that spontaneity. And even when we score a goal, you can't be 100% sure that it's going to be given, because VAR might find a fingernail offside, or it might find a little tug on a shirt or whatever, something, and it gets ruled out for a bit of nonsense. And I think there's something in the game that is gone with VAR.
Whatever happened to semi-automated offsides? Whatever happened to that this season?
It's there.
It doesn't seem to be working, because they're still taking so long on an offside decision.
They're taking shorter than it was.
Which is, I mean, sometimes it's even longer. I just can't make sense of it. Some of the length of time it takes to get some sort of decisions, even when they have semi-automated offsides. It's just ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous, and it needs a big kind of inquest into how to make this better, how to make this a bit more sustainable.
But in terms of in terms of Tottenham, it's just another decision, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yet another decision this season which has gone against us.
I'm used to it now.
We're just not going to get a penalty this season. I've given up on hoping.
Well, us and Villa are the only 2 teams this season that haven't had a penalty.
Villa as well.
Yeah,
it hasn't affected them.
All right, let's move on and let's talk World Cup, because Lucas Bergvall is Spurs' first player to be included in the World Cup squad. So Lucas Bergvall is going to the World Cup for Sweden, so congratulations to him. It's going to be a big summer for him. Hopefully he can shine on that world stage. So I think Graham Potter and Sweden are the only nation to name their World Cup squad as of yet. Unfortunately, Dejan Kulusevski, I mean, he's not going, but I don't think that's any surprise. But it's interesting because Graham Potter's been speaking on Decky and his recovery. So we'll bring you the quotes here, and he says, with Dejan, again, just a very difficult decision. We have to think about what's right for the team. That's important, but also Dejan is in a place where he's had a long flight and he's making progress. It's important now that he uses this time to really focus on getting himself ready for the start of next season. Dejan is at a stage where his rehab is so important that he's made some progress. The aim for him would be to start the next season with Tottenham, hit the ground running, and get back on the pitch and do the things that he loves. We have to be careful about that, and ultimately that is the priority for him. Once those games start in the World Cup, you're not in an area where you can do big 11v11 work, so it would be very difficult for him to get up to where we need him to be. Sometimes you have to take a decision on what that does look like. What is the impact for the player? What is the impact for the team? And I just felt in my stomach that it was the right thing for us and the right thing for him. But of course now it's tough to see that, because he wants to be there and he wants to play, and I understand he is a professional person and he does accept it, of course, but it's also very difficult as it is with all these guys. These things don't come along very often. It's a dream, and you're ending a dream, which is not a nice thing, believe me. So, look, I don't think that we all thought Dejan was going to go to the World Cup, even though there were these talks about it, which I thought was always a bit too fanciful. But I think him having to reject Dejan Kulusevski surely suggests that he is, about to be able to be on the pitch.
Let's hope so. He's talking about next season, so it doesn't sound like he's going to be fit for the latter stages of this season, unfortunately. Obviously, we've heard time and time again he's getting closer. Then he's never had necessarily about setbacks. We've heard getting closer, then he's got pain again, and then he was seen in light training, wasn't he? And then all of a sudden he's gone again. So clearly it's been a very complicated, very difficult recovery for Dejan Kulusevski. We know it's a very complicated injury, so you can't really take any chances with it. He obviously, Kulusevski, the kind of personality he is, he shoots for the stars, doesn't he? He's, I'm going to be back for September, I'm going to be then back for December, then I'm going to be back for the World Cup, and he had all these aims, and I feel for him, because having that World Cup was obviously a something to really target and zone in on and have tunnel vision about aiming to be at. And obviously he was quite a big part of getting Sweden to the World Cup as well. So the fact that
captain,
so the fact that he's missing out on it, considering as well that Sweden, I think, missed out on the last World Cup, didn't they? So there's no guarantee that they get to the next one unless he gets them there.
They only got there for the playoffs this year, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. So it's gutting for him. I really feel for him, and I hope he recovers from this and he just gets back to his best. That's what he's got to aim at. But the reality is, he hasn't played at all this season, and how he can expect to be in a World Cup squad with that being the reality, and he's still not fully fit. I mean, De Zerbi was kind of implying, he thought it was a bit fancy. He said, I don't know how he can play at the World Cup if he hasn't played, but we'll see. Obviously, it's important to kind of keep Dejan's spirits up and say, look, if you get fit, maybe you can make the squad and keep that belief in him. But the reality is, right now, where the situation is, he hasn't made it, and he's tried his best. He's clearly worked as hard to get fit, but has run out of time, it looks like, and it's a massive shame for him. But let's hope he is fit for the start of next season. Who knows when he's going to be able to play? Let's hope pre-season he's back available again.
Yeah. Obviously, I think it's a hard one for him to take, but I think it's good that he's got the summer now to get ready for next season. We've seen, since he's been out injured, he's still been on every international break in and around the squad, and I imagine it'll probably be the same during the World Cup. I'm sure he'll be out there with the squad, acting as kind of like half mentor, half coach kind of thing for the team, because he's such an important figure in that dressing room, the captain of the team as well. So I have no doubt he'll be there still at the World Cup.
The Maddison role, as they call it.
Yeah, except that he won't be on the bench.
No, he won't be on the bench, no.
Let's talk about Mohammed Kudus now, another player who looks like won't be making it to the World Cup. ITK on X, SZY says Kudus has now completed his surgery and recovery has begun. And then he was asked as well how long until he comes back, and he just gave a one-word answer saying long. So that does not seem good for Mohammed Kudus. Let's hope he can be fit for the start of next season.
Yeah, sounds like he's not going to make the World Cup either, so gutted for him. And sounds like maybe, initially there were reports, weren't there? Was it from him, from SZY, saying he wasn't going to do? So there were those initial reports, and maybe he was difficult for him to accept that he's not going to play at the World Cup. He's like, no, I'm not going to do surgery. I'm gonna put it off and hopefully make the World Cup, and then we'll deal with it after. But clearly, I don't know what's happened, but maybe the reality is set in that he's just going to need this surgery. He won't be available for this World Cup. He's not going to be able to play if he doesn't have. He's going to affect him too much long term. So that's probably what's happened. And again, another player I feel for. And by the end of this injury, he's going to be been out for. Well, he's already been out for 6 months. He's going to be out for 9 months by the time he comes back in.
Yeah, depending when he comes back. Yeah.
Before he comes back in, let's say.
When did he get injured?
He got injured in beginning of 1st of April.
It was January.
He initially got injured, and then he came back and then got injured again.
He never played, did he?
No, but he came back. He was in training, and then he got injured, re-injured again. He re-injured the same injury in April. So let's say he's back in.
So right now he's been 4 and a bit months out.
Yeah, but if let's say he's back for August, that's 8 months. He would have been out total.
Yeah,
that's mad.
It is mad. It's crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if, the medical team at Tottenham said you got to have this surgery, and he's like, no, I'm not listening to you guys, and he's got outside kind of advice, and they told him he's had to have the surgery now, so he's probably got it. I think that's probably what's happened.
You're probably right about that.
So that is Mohammed Kudus. SZY is also talking on Alex Scott, Tottenham fan Alex Scott. We know how much of a fan he is of the club, and he says the interest from Tottenham in Alex Scott is very real. The player is keen on the move, so it's one to keep an eye on during the summer.
I love that.
Yeah, proper Tottenham boy, Alex Scott. We've seen all the footages of him when he's younger, even when he's older, talking on these various programmes, always mentions it. I think he's such a classy player, isn't he, Alex Scott? Where does he fit into this starting lineup?
Yeah, it's interesting one. It's another number 8, isn't it? So I think he's one probably. Obviously, let's say Sarr was to leave, he would be an upgrade on Sarr, definitely. I think if you bring in someone like Alex Scott, you probably have to loan out, I would say, one of Gray or Bergvall. That would probably be the solution if you want to bring someone like him in, because I just don't see a place for Gray, Bergvall and Scott all in the squad, especially with no Europe next season. But Scott has developed so well. I mean, he first came in the Premier League, he was struggling a bit with injuries and adaptation, but I feel like ever since especially this season, he's really flown. And obviously he's in the England squad now, and he's become such a brilliant player. And the way he's grown in the Premier League, but it comes with playing time and experience. And Iraola has done a brilliant job with him, hasn't he? Because he was behind Christie and Lewis Cook, and he's earned his place in that team, and now he's scoring goals at the Emirates, and he's starring in big games, and he's a phenomenal talent. And you know what I would say about Alex Scott, there are few players, unfortunately, there are just few players who are boyhood Tottenham fans who are this good, and I think you just got to take them while you can. When you've got someone this good, and he's willing to come to Tottenham because he loves Tottenham. We got burnt with the whole Eze stuff, that he rejected us to go to Arsenal because he's a boyhood Arsenal fan. Well, we have someone here. He would jump at the chance to come to Tottenham because he's a Tottenham fan and he's brilliant. So when you got an opportunity like this, I think you got to take it. You got to take it. How much
it would cost now in this market?
You're looking at 50 million probably.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, probably.
Depends how long he's got on his contract. How long does he have on his contract, Alex Scott? Because he's been there a while now, hasn't he, Alex Scott?
2022 maybe, 23. No, 23. I remember. 23.
2027, his contract is up. So he's not got long left at all. So you might be able to get a cut price deal there.
A year left, maybe 35, something like that. That'll be nice.
So in the summer, he's going into the last year of his contract. I reckon you get him for less than 50 million now.
Yeah, maybe 35, somebody 30.
What a deal that would be. For someone that's 22 years of age, just been called up to the England squad, the talent that he has, a Tottenham boy, I think the Spurs have got to get this done.
We're missing some proper Tottenham in that dressing room. We've been saying it, and I think Alex Scott embodies it. Yeah,
man. I just love watching him play. He's one of these players that you just love watching play.
Yeah, and he's not he's flair player, but he gets stuck in. He's hard. He doesn't. He's not a weak player. He doesn't get bullied, and you can't play in Iraola's central midfield if you're going to be shirking challenges and stuff like that. So I think it's a great deal. It'll be a great signing. I'm all in favour of it. If it means you've got to sacrifice a Sarr, maybe even loan out a Bergvall, I'm willing to go for it.
He comes in probably as Spurs' best number 8.
Yeah, probably.
So I think you sacrifice anyone for him, really.
Get him in.
Upgrades are always welcome, no matter who it is. Especially if you're a born and bred Tottenham boy like Alex Scott. So I would love to see him at the football club, really would. Last but not least, let's talk. I mean, we've covered this to death, but it's been reported by SZY, so I thought we may as well cover it once again, and that is on Mickey van der Ven. And SZY says Mickey van der Ven is now expected to stay at Tottenham this summer should relegation be avoided. Club not actively looking to sell, and the player is very happy under Roberto De Zerbi.
What a turnaround, if that's true. What a turnaround, considering
what a difference a manager can make, eh?
It can. And it's interesting. I was listening to Ali Gold's video today, and I haven't seen these quotes, but he was talking about apparently Van der Ven. Maybe it was in the programme on Monday, but I haven't seen them myself. But he was saying he read these quotes from Van der Ven talking about the football now we play under De Zerbi, saying how much happier the team is playing this kind of football. He's saying it's closer to what it was under Ange. The team is much more comfortable playing this kind of football, and I think you can see it in his play. You can see it. He's like a man with renewed motivation. He seems a lot more on it. We know that. He said it before, this is the kind of football. He said it in the overlap interview. They much rather play this kind of football, front-footed football. I think it's much more suited to someone like Van der Ven. And if De Zerbi has turned his mindset around, that's also a major win from him. Obviously, we have to stay in the Premier League. We've got still a lot to do that. But if we do, I mean, the fact that Van der Ven should be staying is fantastic news for the All Spurs fans.
I'll tell you what, though. Looking at Romero on the sidelines,
yeah,
it doesn't look like he wants to leave, does it?
He was running down, wasn't he? On that knee, probably re-injured his knee. Yeah, you know what? Who knows? Who knows what the summer holds?
Fully invested. It's not.
Well, he is the captain, isn't he?
He is the captain, but it doesn't look like a man that is desperate to leave the club.
Look, I think he loves Tottenham, but I think he has certain complaints. But I think, I'm guessing Van der Ven probably had the same. And maybe they've now we've got this manager in. Maybe Romero's mindset's changed as well. We haven't heard much. I think the difference between Van der Ven and Romero is I think the club are more willing to accept deals for Romero than they are Van der Ven. So in that basis, that makes him more likely to leave. I think with Van der Ven, obviously he's younger, he's not causing as much trouble like off field and stuff like that. So I think from that basis that we're going to try and hang on to him. I've always thought we would want to try and hang on to one of them at least. I don't think we would.
Do you see a world where both of them stay this summer?
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. I do think right now it's still more likely Romero leaves than not, just because of I think the club are happy to sell him. But I think, as we've said before, maybe there aren't that many suitors right now. Obviously, he's now got this knee injury. We'll see if he makes it for the World Cup. He hasn't had the best season. I reckon De Zerbi will want him to stay.
I guarantee you Romero's making the World Cup. There is no way. His knee looked absolutely fine on the weekend, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, probably. What's it called? I think De Zerbi is going to tell the club he wants Romero to stay, and he's going to try and convince Romero to stay. But whether that's enough, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But it looks as though all the reports now from the press and from ITK saying that Van der Ven is happy at the club now and willing to stay, assuming Spurs do stay up. But we got big 2 games ahead. Look, if we go down, it changes everything. We just need to stay in this division, get through these next 2 games, and then hopefully we can kick on from there.
I mean, if we stay up, if Zerbi keeps us up and he convinces Romero and Van der Ven to stay, I mean, he's changed our lives. Literally, he's changed our lives.
Yeah, well,
and he gets us playing good football.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes from here on in, people. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the news stories that we have spoken about today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.